All right, it's Monday, October 6th, 9 o'clock, special session of the Board of Supervisors. The first item on the agenda is the approval.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda is presented. Any further comment? All in favor? Aye. Public comment? None. So we'll move on to item number 3, which is new business. We're going to go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Section 21.51C to discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where its disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the government body in that litigation. And this is a roll call.
Move to approve. Second.
Bob?
Callahan.
Yes.
Gina.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes. All right.
Pardon. There'd be a permanent assigned assistant foreman instead of doing I call it randomly assigned, but sporadically assigned position that happens now. It wouldn't be a new position. It would be in addition to the current roles or responsibilities that the person has. So if the road worker is interested in becoming a foreman in the future or just having extra responsibility, that's what the person would be. They would just be automatically in charge when the foreman isn't here, for sure. The primary duty of it. The day-to-day stuff, what would happen is, because I would like to get rid of Bud and not replace him or go down to 2 foremen, they're going to help them collect the payroll and assure that it's correct in their areas that are away from where the foremen are now. In the winter time, they would check the roads in those quadrants of the county so that the checking of the roads can be done as effectively as it's done now.
As in the foreman and assistant?
Yeah, they will all
be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whatever happens, the foreman is always the person in charge. They determine all the work orders, they determine everything that's being done. The assistant foreman, all they do is, let's just say a drainage or a ditch cleaning work order is given to whoever's down in the Rockville area. That assistant foreman would say, okay, I need the excavator, I need 3 guys, and these tile to repair the job. Then the foreman has to make sure that it's all down there at the time period that he had determined that the work needs to be done. So it's really just to help pick up some of the stuff that Bud was doing, so that the 2 foremen aren't overwhelmed or they don't do a work.
So would there be one assistant at like the Thornton shed and one at the Rockville shed?
Ideally, that's how. Yeah, that's ideally how it would work. It'd be one in the Rockville area and one in the Thornton area.
And then who would oversee them?
Well, Josh would oversee the Thornton one,
And then
Mitch would oversee the
Rockville.
Yep.
So you're not talking about an assistant foreman for Mitch?
Yeah, Mitch's assistant would be in Rockville.
Right.
Yeah.
But just in those 2 shops, I mean, there's not an assistant in the Illinois shop and an assistant in your shop out there.
No, so what it is, yeah, Josh will still have to take care of Ventura and Clear Lake because they're close enough together and they go north with most of their work. The reason why I want one down in Thornton is I don't want Josh to be too. I just don't want what he does, checking roads in the wintertime or signing work orders to degrade from where it is now. I want to make sure that he can assign the work and then somebody else can help figure out the details and then get back to what they need and then he can.
Where are we at as far as compensation goes for either the proposed new assistant and or the current supervisors?
And with that, if I may, Casey, sure. What is Bud's total too, so we've got something to compare it to?
He makes I think it's like $74,000, $70-something thousand.
Right now, the foreman pays 75.
There we go. Yep.
75.
Basically 76.
Yep. So the additional pay to the assistants, I would propose they would get a permanent, I'll just say $2 an hour. So essentially, it probably works out to about $5,000 a year extra, $6,000 a year with overtime and everything.
Okay.
Right now, they make the maintenance workers make $29.92 an hour, which is annualized is $62,233. So if they got $2 an hour, I'd move that to about 4,000, just over $4,000.
Yeah, my estimate was just with a ton of overtime.
And then would you do anything for different for the foreman? Or that would be the same?
I guess when we get this determined, whether or not I can do this is when I would decide if they need something else. I don't, they're paid pretty good. I think I haven't done all the comps yet.
Okay.
So they're pretty close where I think they need to be. So if I was to suggest anything, it would be not a whole lot more than what they're making now.
And then my other question is, what would be your thoughts of like doing like a trial run on this to see if it
Yeah.
worked or didn't work, and then how would it, if it didn't work, how
Yeah, that's why I'm not gonna,
devastating would that be for the folks that got promoted, got the $2 more an hour, and then all of a sudden we take that away? Like, how do we do that from an HR standpoint
Yep.
to make sure we're like legally do it, or you know what I mean?
and that's
And
why.
and are they posted?
Yeah, it will be. So
Okay.
for your question, that's why I want to add this be an additional job description on top of what they do now. And part of the requirements that when they understand they take this job, one of the things written into it is minimum yearly. We're going to sit down with me, the foreman in charge of them, and them themselves, and we're going to discuss their shortfalls for the year, what they're doing well, and if this position is viable to continue moving forward. And at any point, if we decide it's not, then that extra job description goes away, and they just continue doing their normal job description.
I think the answer, but in case if it just isn't working, the offer, I would say you go back to what the maintenance workers make. Obviously, if the misconduct is something beyond being a system foreman, then the discipline would be different, like any other employee.
So what's the perceived chain of command then? And essentially, the assistant report to the foreman report to you. The assistant, is there any end around, like where they just go to you? Like, has that ever been a problem before? Because obviously, sometimes I get calls from workers and it's not always appropriate,
Yeah,
and vice versa.
the assistant foreman, unless they're taking over for the foreman who's not there at all, won't have the ability to do any kind of discipline. All they're doing is executing the foreman's orders. So the chain of command is still the workers to the foreman. I mean, they can suggest and they can say things to the assistant foreman. They can pass on if they wish, but it's going to be workers foreman is really what it is. The assistant foreman is just there to help keep things moving forward, identify things in their area. So if the
And I'm not trying to discourage people
No.
not to talk to you or us or anything like
No.
that. That wasn't what I was getting at. It just
No, I'm not adding them in there as a management type person
Okay.
unless the foreman is gone and they have to take over for a temporary, a week or a day or however long the foreman's gone for. Is their job is not to manage the employees. They're just there to get the information to the foreman he needs to ensure they have the equipment, materials, the people to keep their areas and their work orders going.
And that's along my same concern, along similar to what you said, Casey, but it's like Mitch. I like Mitch, but Mitch was one of the gang, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden he's your boss.
Yep.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard to be a leader, manager, or whatnot when you were part of the team at one point too. And I'm assuming you can relate to that from the fire department days.
Yeah, you get over it.
Yeah, but will these guys be effective?
They should, I mean, yeah, it's essentially what they do now. They're just assigned for specific projects for things. So, and they're very apprehensive about it because they all are like, well, we're not getting paid anymore. We got to do extra work for things. So this is to encourage one person that I can train them to be better at the documentation side. They can ensure that the payroll and everything's done correct. They can just assist the foreman in making sure everything is correct. Because right now, the assistant foreman system that we've been using it's been used forever in this county, and I've used it since I've been here. I don't think it's really effective. None of the guys ever have the ability or confidence to check payroll or assign work. They just kind of follow the list down that the foreman left for them, which is still going to be what it is if we have permanent assistant foremen. But I'm hoping that the additional training they have with payroll and the additional responsibilities that they just have on a day-to-day basis to one person will help make them more effective when the foremen are gone.
Under department staffing, I'll use that as a lead, but how's things with Michelle?
A lot better. Since we had our very long, in-depth talk with her, and we kind of said you need to get better. She has done dramatically better.
Good.
Kind of back to this thing.
Yeah.
what's your timeline? Because I'd like to move it along a little bit since we're just now kind of discussing it.
Yeah. I would like to have the assistant foreman in place by mid-November. So if they have part of the winter to go through with the foreman and check, so they can get to the checking road system and.
How long do you have to post, Tom?
Well, it's going to be an internal posting. I don't want to add a new position for it.
10 days at least.
Yeah.
10 or 14 days.
Yep. So
That takes
it'll
you to the end of October.
Yep.
All right, we're running out of time here. I gotta have a couple of comments, questions I want to ask, if that's okay.
Go for it.
First of all, this changes the number of employees by -1 because you're not replacing a foreman. You're not adding another position to add another
No.
person.
I'm not.
Okay, that was a question. Now, when a foreman goes on vacation for 2 weeks, let's say, how do you take care of that right now?
Right now, I make them have a list of work orders that they want to achieve for the next 3 weeks. What if they're gone for more than a week, they need to have 2 weeks of work done if they were going to be gone for 2 weeks.
Who's in charge when they're gone?
Whoever they assign as assistant foreman.
Okay. All right, the next thing is more of a comment.
Yeah.
Just to create this position and give extra responsibility to someone
Yep.
without extra authority can be an issue too.
Yep.
I am not against to make a foreman who actually is a frontline supervisor, an assistant, it'd be the next in line in the pecking order as far as chain of command. When you
Yep.
give somebody that extra authority, or you give somebody that extra responsibility, but they still don't have any extra authority, it's hard to carry out the daily operation when you're not really their boss, but
Yep.
you are, but you're not. That puts people kind of in a gray area. Sometimes it's easier, you are number two.
Yep.
And then there's no question.
Yeah.
So just an idea to think about.
Yeah, like I said, I'll write a whole job description. Also, maybe seeing it on paper might help. I have a rough draft of one. I wouldn't say it's to a point where it's done yet, but it's pretty close.
So what's your thoughts, gentlemen, as far as when we give Brandon an answer?
I guess I'd like to see the job description.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And then as soon as I see a physical copy of that and review it, I will get back to you as soon as possible.
Definitely.
Yeah, that works for me. Like I said, I have one probably 95% done. I just
Right.
want to go over it again to make sure.
My biggest issue was the responsibility without authority, the way you said,
Yeah.
the way you described it. I saw that as being a potential problem. So it's just something to consider, and then
Yeah.
work with HR, come up with a description and bring it back to us.
I kind of, now, if I just don't want to give them the authority to discipline or do any of that kind of stuff. I mean, the foremen don't really have that right now. At least I don't let them do that right now. The assistant foreman will still be in charge of assessing the people's work, like their work and how they do, and reporting back to the foreman if there's any kinds of personality issues or.
Have policies in place, follow the policies, go through the chain of command.
Yeah.
Is your foreman meetings every Monday morning?
Yeah.
So will they just be the foreman still then, or?
Yeah, just the foreman.
Okay.
Unless they're gone, then the assistant would be there in their place.
Anything else? All right, correspondence, communication, announcement.
Adjourn.
Motion and a second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 9:56.